Hertz. Start that again. I'm Marc Hertz. I'm one of the founders of One Complete Business. Barb here is my co-founder.
Yep.
And we founded One Complete Business about in 2017. So we've been in business for 5 years. We survived COVID. Made it this far, still going. And we've worked primarily with small business owners and helping them kind of get their legs under them and start, go from the idea for their business and turn it into actualization. So prior to starting One Complete Business, I was in the corporate world as middle management. I was responsible for a large part of the technology platform that the company I worked for used. So I was involved in enterprise software implementations. That's something that's kind of come into our work with our clients, is helping them, one, understand, as they build a website, as they do social media, as they do anything, what technology can they use? How do we use the technology they're already using? They have something come in, and how is it that we keep ourselves organized with our technology? So we've tried a whole bunch of different applications.
Yeah, if it exists, we've tried it pretty much, hoping it will solve a problem. So, but we're down to a couple now, which is useful. When we started, Marc had a marketing company, I had an operations company. Specifically before that, I was a professor of sociology, and I started a curriculum company helping people teach. And so okay, it's hopping in and they're giving me notes. So I hold on, it's doing that. How do I undo that? Like that? Okay, great. So I was a professor helping create curriculum. Then everybody always asked me, like, I never got paid either. They'd ask me for a cup of coffee and ask me business questions, because I was raised in a family business, and I did this. I mean, I taught for 10 years, but on the weekends and some evenings, I was meeting business owners. And I got to a point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this business stuff. I'm going to leave academia. Everybody thought I was crazy. Like I should get my head checked, everything. But I left, and I'm so glad I did. And started my own thing. Specifically, when I started, is how to get people incorporated, the business model, specifically your ideal client, what makes you unique, what's the product, how you get it out. So it was all the legal, day-to-day stuff, marketing, sales. And I created activities, like fun activities for business owners to help them get through it. And so I taught classes for quite a while. And then I met Marc at a networking meeting, and he had the marketing piece, which I've never enjoyed. And so recently in COVID, what saved us was because people weren't calling for consulting, but we were getting tons of calls about what is the PPP and what is EIDL or the IDLE and what is this? And of course we didn't know. I mean, everything had just been created. So we spent an amazing amount of time just signing everyone up. We learned everything we could. We learned how to do the applications, and then we just did them all for free. Like that was anybody that came to us. And so we did so many of them for both programs. And then what we started realizing is there's tons of grants and incentives out there that nobody uses. I mean, it goes, there's an entrepreneur grant, $150 million, and nobody ever applied for any of it. And that's ridiculous, because none of us even knew it existed. Or like the big grant came out here, and that was $10,000, and you didn't have that. And then there were all kinds of other programs that people just didn't know about. So then from there, then people start asking us to do competitive bids between states. And so it grew into a whole nother offering. So just recently, we're back into our collaboration and teaching business, but we still have quite a legacy of grants and incentive clients. So, but yeah, that's us.
Yeah. All right. So with that,
should we ask, since there's not many? So
I think
we're good. Oh yeah, everybody we have.
Yep.
Okay. Hi.
So I'm going to start sharing. So let me know if for some reason you cannot see my screen. was not what it was supposed to do.
Oh, yeah, now we see something else. Okay.
Of course, the tech person has the tech problems, right? Okay, can everybody see my screen here? And awesome. Okay, so this is a quick overview. So there's topics here that we're going to touch on briefly. That could be a whole hour and a half talk in and of themselves. So what I want, my goal for today is to get everybody to kind of start thinking about, okay, what are all the applications that I use? And am I being, how would I use them? What am I using them for? Are they really useful to me? And then how is it that I add stuff on? And so every business has what's called a technology stack. So that's all the applications that you're using in your business. So if you think about your smartphone, for example, and you open it up and you take a look at the apps that you have in your smartphone, this is the technology stack on your smartphone, for example, right? This could be a part of your personal technology stack. So that could be your social media, it could be like your Facebook on your phone, it could be your clock, your messages, all the different applications. And then as you kind of sort through them, there might be some you don't use very often or that came with the phone. So those are things you can start thinking about. Okay, so what is it that I might be able to take out of my technology stack? What are things that are really useful to me? And so when we talk with our clients about technology, and I talk with people about technology, one of the things that's really important to realize is that you are a key part of your business's tech stack. So everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Everybody has areas in which they're strong. And you want to use technology in a way that plays to those strengths and weaknesses. For example, if you're really, Karen, for example, you're a creative entrepreneur. So there might be things where it's like, okay, I'm going to go really deep in the creative applications. I'm going to use Photoshop. I'm going to use these things, but maybe I don't go so deep in QuickBooks, or I don't go so deep in a project management system, right? Whereas somebody else might say, you know what, I'm doing a lot of social media management. I'm going to go deep into social media management tools. And then find partners or ways to sort of outsource some of that other stuff and really think about, okay, what are the places where I really want to spend the time to learn the tool and the money, because money is time, the money to do it, or what can I outsource? So what's that cost benefit of bringing the tool in and also learning how to use it?
And in the beginning, we did a lot. We met other business owners that had different skills than us, and we traded with them to help get us started. Or we did, consulting at $10 or $25. And then we just kept raising our prices until we were, much higher. But, whoever you meet, the networking piece is so important, and ask them what they do and what they love to do. It really helped us get off the ground.
Yeah, and there's some things where it's, if it's not something you're good at, you're going to spend more time learning how to do it, something that's not part of your core business, and you're not going to have that same time to either be selling or delivering your service. So that's part of the things to think, okay, what don't I have to take on? Which brings us to sort of 3 tech rules to keep in mind. Number 1, everything has a learning curve. So as you get into, for example, Facebook, as a user, is fairly straightforward. I take pictures, I post them. But as you start getting into some of those business functions, it becomes a lot more complicated. You start getting into like the ad panel, that becomes a lot more complicated. So there are things that people say are really easy, which is rule number 2. Nothing is as easy as they say. So every video that you see, every demo, every YouTuber is like, you just do this and this and it's done. That's never the case. It takes time to learn every single tool, and even ones that are user friendly to start with take some time to really become adept at using them and really become a power user. So things like, for example, Squarespace, starting off, it can be fairly simple to use those templates, but there's times where it's like, that template's not doing what I want to do. How do I make it do this thing, even though it might seem simple?
What's Squarespace?
Squarespace is a website building platform. And then rule number 3 to keep in mind about technology, if it's not working, the problem may not be you. So I think a lot of us are really quick to blame ourselves and say, hey, I must not be doing something right. This happens a lot with Barb, where she'll get super frustrated. It's like, well, it's actually not you. It's actually the application software is not working right. So kind of being able to take a step back and not just assume that whatever's not working is you. You could have an issue with the platform, things could not be working. So having something where you can take advantage of some good tech support is also really helpful. Any questions so far?
Okay.
So what's at the base of your tech stack? So those are like your email and your Office apps. So think about Outlook, for example, Office 365. That's really the base of your tech stack. That's where those are the tools that you use day in and day out for your basic business functions. It can also include storage. If you're using Office 365, for example, it comes with OneDrive, which is super handy. A lot of people also use the Google Suite, which has a lot of the same applications. I'm really partial to Office 365 for 2 reasons. One is I think it's a better value than Google. You're able to download the desktop versions of the application, so you're not stuck doing everything online. And it also comes with tech support, which is super useful. So if you're doing Office 365, you want to make sure that you're using the business version of Office 365. There's 2. There's a personal and there's a business one. And the business one gives you many more tools to be able to use more applications, but also gives you access at about $12 a month to live tech support, which is super useful because at some point something will break and the problem will not be you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of business owners get caught on something that's not working in their tech stack, and then they just don't take care of it, or they try to work around it, or they might go down for days, like something's wrong with the email, and then it might be 7 to 10 days before they're back up. I always, once I hate to fill out that form, like, oh, I need support, but Marc's really, supported me in filling it out constantly. And it's great because when I do, they call back within an hour. And then if they don't get me, or I wasn't right by the phone, then what they do is they reach out again. And then for them to be able to take over my screen, some of them actually can do all the pieces and parts of it and take care of it. So, when you're picking something, it's important for you to really think about what kind of customer service they have. Others you have to search online, or you have to find community groups. And it's important, sometimes for us, we're like, okay, we'll pay the extra $5, just to have that for the year, so we don't have to go on this long search for it, because we want people to be able to get the help they need and not waste too much time. I mean, this stuff can eat days of your work. So
the next major piece of your business tech stack is going to be your website. Your website is the heart of your business tech stack. And websites have evolved significantly from the beginning of being it's a simple online business card. If any of you have used Wix, which is a website building platform, or you've looked at things like Squarespace, or even what's the other one? WordPress. It's much, much more now than just a static web page where you have your information. A lot of them have a full marketing technology suite that's been added onto them. So they have things like the ability to capture email and do newsletters. They have e-commerce capabilities that are native to the websites. They have customer management capabilities. Some of them have inventory management capabilities. So there's a lot of power that has been put into the website platforms, and they've grown tremendously from the beginning. Whether sort of looked down upon as simple drag and drop editors, which were kind of limiting in what you're able to do with them, to now they're really very powerful applications that have a lot of different facets and can fill a lot of different niches in your tech stack.
Okay.
So what do you want to think about when you're picking a website platform? So one, what are your needs? So does anybody here have an email newsletter?
Yes.
Okay.
So, so one of your needs might be having a platform that will let you do email capture easily and manage those users within the same space where you're managing your website. For sure, you need something where you're going to be able to put in a little module to be able to send the people who subscribe to your newsletter to like a MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that if you're not doing it within the website platform. Does anybody here do recurring payments, like subscriptions?
Okay.
So that's another one, which is a newer feature on a lot of these platforms. Doing recurring charges for monthly subscriptions is actually is a bit more complicated than just doing a simple one-time transaction. So making sure that you are able to do that recurring billing is a really cool feature. Squarespace does it. Not every platform does it though. So if that's something we're like, you know what, I want to sell subscription services to people, or I want people to subscribe to a course, for example, or have multiple payments for the same thing, being able to understand what does each platform do in terms of being able to get money from your clients and how it does it is super important. And then the next question is, what is your budget? So the more powerful the platform, sometimes the more expensive they are. So really thinking, okay, well, what is my budget in terms of what I can pay somebody to develop it for me? What's my monthly budget for paying for the platform? What's my budget in terms of time for how long I have time to learn to work on it and learn it? And then question number 3 is, how long will it work for you? You know, a website is a moment in time, even though your business is really built on it. Websites get updated all the time, technology changes, and what works for you today may not work for you 3 or 4 years down the line.
You know, Karen, you were saying that business, they couldn't even be found. You know, there are programs where then you might be able to be found, but they'll change an algorithm or how they're scraping the information. And then the next thing you know is that the website can't be found anymore, or the business can't be found. And so it's a constant, you know, journey to be able to find out what's going on and the changes each of the providers are making.
So after your basics of your tech stack of your office applications, your email, and your website, then there's all the other applications that you kind of use around it. So for example, Zoom is one that we've all started using. There's a couple different options, right? You have Zoom, there's Teams, there's Google Chat are sort of the 3 biggest ones at the moment. Some of them have free options, some of them have monthly subscriptions that give you more power. That's part of why I like Microsoft, the Microsoft Office 365 a lot, because it comes with Teams. So you can really do a lot with Teams virtual meetings that would be a separate subscription to do with Zoom, for example. So that's thinking a little bit about, okay, so how do I get the most from the monthly subscriptions I'm paying for a platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think with, you know, for us with the appointment setting, we've done it where somebody's called us, where they've emailed, and we open the calendar and look. Right now we're doing where we're getting a lot of referrals. So we are using something called Calendly that then connects our website to the calendar that also connects to Zoom, and we can do it all in one place. And it's helpful because we just set the hours like between 10 and 12 on these days, 1 and 3 on the other days. People that get our link only can sign up in those times. And then because we're like, okay, we're going to be doing that offering at that point in time, and whoever signs up for it gets our time. And that has been really helpful. So for us, it's always, how can we do something easier? And how do we streamline it? And so we don't have to do so many steps.
Yeah. And that's a great example of using technology to play to your strengths. You know, keeping track of a bunch of different calendar invites coming in might not be the best use of your time. And it can be easy when you've got a million other things going on to lose track of some of those invitations or some of those requests for time. So that's just a really simple way to use technology to take something off your plate while still providing a good customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the next set of applications to think about are marketing applications. So some of them, it's kind of like an extension of your website. So I mentioned email marketing applications. So things like MailChimp that lets you do newsletters and capture signups to your newsletter. There's also different social media management apps. Facebook has changed a bit of what it allows for third-party applications, but those include a lot of scheduling applications. So instead of worrying every single day about what am I going to post, do I have a picture for this? Do I have the time to do this? Am I feeling inspired? You can do your social media for several days, for a week, for a month even, and just calendar it out. And these social media applications, things like Loomly and several other ones will do that posting for you. And the other thing to think about along with that is something called a CRM, which is customer relationship management software. So this is keeping track of all the people you talk with. So who is a potential client, who's a networking partner, who's a referral partner, and where you are in your sales cycle with them. So that's another really useful tool that takes the information that you have in between what's in your email and your head, saying, okay, I talked to this person on Monday. They said they got back to me, next week. I talked to them, I didn't get an answer. I'm going to follow up with them. All that stuff you have in your head, or you might have on pieces of paper. A CRM will take that and organize it and give you prompts and really help you better manage your outreach to customers. So it's a really critical piece of business software, and there are free ones out there that are really good.
And I think, for us having the CRM and we found out that you have to touch or interact with somebody 7 to 12 times before they will go with you or buy from you, is statistically what takes place. So for us, we didn't have a customer journey of, hey, the first thing I'm going to do is send an email. The second thing I might do is see if they have any questions. The third thing might be to do a follow-up phone call. And for us, we decided, okay, let's have that journey and let's figure out how we're going to be helpful, to prospective clients and find out what's going on, as well as the clients we already have. So for us, it was really important to set up the CRM so we could have the dates, the different activities, and then I can look and say, oh, I haven't reached out to that person, because oftentimes business owners won't go back. And they're like, they hear no, and then it's over. They might, it's good to go back every, 3 months, or depending on what your business is, 6 months, and say, hey, how are things going? Has anything changed? Is it something like, do you now have something coming up where you might need photography, anybody that's now engaged or now is pregnant, because the many life events that we have change constantly. Yeah. So it's important to think about, okay, how am I keeping that together? And how is my tech stack going to support me?
And Barb makes a really good point. Nurturing your already existing contacts and clients, the payoff between is 5 to 1 between in terms of the cost to acquire that client versus getting business from a repeat client. So it's much, much more expensive to keep bringing people in to the top of what they call your pipeline to start forming that relationship than it is to nurture that relationship and try and drive repeat business and repeat engagement from the people you already know. Any questions?
Yep. Okay.
Awesome. All right. So the next piece ties directly to how is it you get paid. So invoicing and bookkeeping apps make it much easier to get paid. So some CRMs will let you, for example, once you have somebody in, they'll let you fire off the contract to somebody and have them sign it electronically, and then they can do the invoicing right there. QuickBooks, which is probably the application that I think a lot of small business owners use, lets you do that invoicing and also keep track of all your different business finances and so on. Having the ability to send somebody an electronic invoice makes a huge difference in how quickly you can get paid.
Yeah. And for all of these things, in the beginning, my CRM, keeping it together, was a Word document. And then I moved on to Excel, and then I moved on to, so there's lots of things that you're going to use that will change and grow. But it's good to think about, okay, where do I want to be ultimately? You know, how many clients do I want to have? Or you'll start to figure out, I reach out to this many people, then that will then translate into this many clients. And then once you start doing that, you realize like, oh, okay, now I need to add something else. So this tech stack, like the invoicing, you know, I used to keep that, open up a bank statement. So it's just, it's helpful.
Andrea has a question.
All right.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, as far as your CRM system and even invoicing and bookkeeping apps, what apps do you recommend for that?
So we've used a couple different ones. So we've done from the beginning, we've used QuickBooks for our invoicing. For a while, I built a CRM system for us because there wasn't one that we really liked. We've used Barb's used Pipedrive. We've used
there's 10 hats, or it
Yeah.
used to be 10, and then
Or
Peachtree,
19
which is really
hats and
old. And so
there's some of the big ones are Zoho CRM, which has a whole
I'm
lot
sorry,
of
can you repeat that?
Zoho,
Zoho.
ZHO. And so they have a bunch of different apps. So they have a CRM, but then they'll also with some coding will let you create triggers that will send documents to people and collect signatures and so on.
And in the beginning, I used Word documents. I found the template online where you can search in Word, and then I would just go and fill it in and save it and then send it to them and say, hey, you know, sign it and send it back. You know, it was, you know, that's how I handled it. Or they could take a picture of it on their phone, you know, that they printed out and send it back to me. And I'm like, okay, that's an invoice, and they know. That, you know, that's how I did it for quite a while when I started.
HubSpot is another one. They have a free option, and then they get into, that's sort of like one of the big ones that gets into, you know, many more sort of features that you can add on. The price just goes up and up, but they do have a free option. If you're using MailChimp, or you're using Constant Contact or Active Campaign for your email, you can also use those as a CRM, and you can make notes in there. You can do some things to set reminders for contacts, or create email chains to nurture leads. So all of that takes, again, goes back to, there's a learning curve, right? There's an easy way, just, okay, I'm gonna use MailChimp just to make my newsletter and send it out. And then so the next level after that is like, okay, I'm gonna start creating rules. I'm gonna add additional fields and data to my contact list. So there's a lot you can do working out of your email application. There's a lot you can do with contacts out of Outlook, and making notes in your contacts as well. So you can manage them there. And that's part of the challenge, is that there's a lot of apps that sort of overlap, and one does half of what the other one does. And so trying to get that whole solution can sometimes be a little bit tricky.
Yeah, and you sound like somebody who really knows how to do all that.
Definitely.
It does make it sound
That's
easy.
part of the problem.
Well, no, that's okay. We'll answer more questions. Don't worry.
Yeah. So the next set of apps to look at are project management apps. So these are super useful for not just keeping you on track, but keeping your clients on track. And some of them also will let you send out invoicing and things like that. I think Ripe will let you do that. But what's really helpful about them is, number one, it's a great tool for keeping you on track. Say, okay, I've put a date to this. Here are the steps I have to do for this particular thing. Here's what I've promised the deliverable. You can share that with the client, and then the client sees, okay, well, here's what you're working on. Here's when things are due. I see progress. Or you can say, hey, you know what? I need you to send me
Pictures for the website.
I need you to send me, you know, whatever it is, so I can take the next step. And then that's also a way of keeping your client accountable. So there's a lot of things you can get from a project management tool to kind of improve your customer experience, not just from keeping you more organized, but keeping your client organized and giving them a place to go rather than just emailing you and asking you over and over for stuff.
Right. And I also think it's common that when you get a client, they're like, oh, I want this. And how fast can you do it? And then you ask them for things and you might not hear from them, for a week and a half, or, and then all of a sudden you're waiting on them. It's important with the project management is you can say, okay, I reached out to you on this date, but I didn't get it. And so it delays the project here, and if you have clients that are doing that, then you can say, okay, you know what, the first, there's a deposit due. So that way a client isn't dragging it out forever and then pays for it at the end. So either they put a deposit and then 30 days after they have to finish it up, whether project's done or not. So there's certain things in there to protect yourself, but the project management apps will help you because it's a place you can go and say, instead of you searching for everything, you can say, hey, the phone call was here. This is the date you said you'd have this, and, and this is why now I need that. It will just help you in a lot of ways to have a record of what's going on.
And so one of the ones that we use that we really like is called ClickUp, and we can circle back. There's just a couple more slides. We can talk specifically about applications and questions and so on, but you can also get a lot out of Outlook. Outlook has a tasks feature that lets you assign yourself a task and set a due date, and it will remind you if it's done or not done. So you can use that in conjunction with the calendar out of Outlook. So that's a really sort of minimal way of building some project management into your tech stack without having to use a separate subscription. And then finally, there are creative applications. So these are things like Canva on less expensive, sort of free end, all the way up to Adobe Creative Suite, Photoshop, and Illustrator, and so on, which are really sort of the premier design tools and artistic tools that are out there. And so these are apps that let you edit photos, design flyers, create social media posts. There are a lot that let you do, a lot. I'm amazed by some of the things that you're able to do. And they've added many more features to the web-based design apps that are out there. So it used to be Canva lets you do, it was designed to help you make like a social media post. It had templates that were the same size. And now you can put videos in, and now you can, edit pictures in it with, some actually fairly decent capability to edit things. Adobe also has been putting out free options of its software that you can use off of your cell phone or your tablet that lets you do things like capture images and turn them into designs, or edit video on your phone without having to buy the whole Creative Suite. So there's a lot of really powerful apps that are out there that are free or sort of freemium, that are fairly inexpensive that you can use. If you want to get into using the Creative Suite, it's super powerful, but it comes with a huge learning curve.
Right.
Yeah, there's a question.
I wanted to know what would you advise to be the best app when you have to make videos, but you're a novice?
Mm-hmm.
How novice of a novice are you?
Just came out. Just born.
Do you have an iPhone or?
I have an iPhone. Yeah.
I think iPhone. I use an Android, so I can't speak too much to the iPhone, but I think there's.
I have an Android also.
And I have an iPhone, so
but
yeah.
But I think there's an Apple app that lets you edit the videos, so you can do things like cut down and at a minimum trim them.
Okay.
Are you putting it on social media? Are you putting it on YouTube? How are you using your videos?
Okay, so I'm just developing my website, and they're asking me for videos that I don't have, and I need them like yesterday. Yeah. So I'm trying to find a way to make some quick videos to submit for them to put on the website.
Will they edit or no?
She'll edit.
Okay, that's great. I would just start talking on a specific topic
Okay,
and then just forward them to her.
Yeah.
And then she'll
okay,
figure out what to do with them. But just, have some good lighting, be casual,
okay,
relax, talk
okay,
about your different topics and
okay,
just talk as yourself.
Yeah, I think from the
okay,
beginning piece, really being clear about what is that you're going to put in that video. I think you might
okay.
have, depending on what they're asking for, a 60 to 90-second video does a lot. It's
Okay,
really long. A lot of people, especially putting on social media, they're not going to watch the end of the video. So really think about, okay, what is the most important thing that somebody has to get from this video? So kind of what's the hook, what they call it, what's the lead, what's the most important thing, and then to repeat what Barb said, natural light is great. If you have like a nice sunny spot, you can't have too much light,
okay,
because that'll make the camera easier to focus on you,
okay,
and the video is just going to be overall much crisper, and the quality will
okay,
be better.
okay,
And then having good audio.
okay. And then the second thing is, I've read a lot about background. What would you suggest the best background would be for videos?
Are they? What is your business?
I have 2 businesses, and she's working on them simultaneously. One is a motivational speaker, and the second one is a nonprofit organization. And they're it's going to be synthesized. The 2 of them are going to kind of merge together. I'll be speaking on forgiveness, and in my nonprofit, I'm working with women coming out of prison.
Mhm.
So there's a couple things to think about. So one is, if you're going to put graphics in the background, having like a plain background that has some space behind you to superimpose a graphic, is useful. So that's, not having a busy background, so they might be able to be kind of green screened a little bit.
What is green screen?
So that's where, for example, when they do the weather,
Oh, yes.
standing in front of what's really a green screen, the pictures aren't really there, so they kind of put it in the background, or
Okay.
they do that a lot with movies and so on. So you can actually do some of that with the video editing software.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, the majority of stuff that we did in the beginning was just have a chair against a wall, with color
Okay.
on it. And that was it,
Okay.
and you can do it anywhere. Something that I learned that I didn't know is, like, I could take this corner and then make it look amazing. And it's only because I don't need that
Okay.
much space. So, that's the thing to think about, that you can do it anywhere.
Okay.
And just think about it. Do you want to be how you want to be dressed, or do you want it to be more formal or casual, or
Casual, yeah.
yeah, so sitting down sometimes great, or standing, just gesturing, and like I said, I always tell people, just do the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first ones are always rough, but the more you do, the more comfortable you become, and then you can replace those on your website at any time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Is
Thank
there
you very much.
I think the other thought there too is there anybody that you like, whose content that you like as a speaker, or on YouTube?
Or TikTok.
Yeah. There are a couple of people that I favor.
So I think about what is that you like that they do, and see, what can you borrow? They say,
Okay.
good artists borrow, great artists steal. So
Okay.
see what it is that
Okay.
you can do, to pick up on what is that you think they're doing right and that connects with you.
Okay. Thank you. That was great. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm very nervous, but that helped a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, the first ones are always the hardest one.
Oh, they are.
We had
They're
a
difficult.
client who started off doing videos, and she was really unsure. And the first ones were a couple rough, but now she's done 2 years worth of videos, and she
Wow.
does them every week, like clockwork.
Wow.
And so now she just knocks them out and doesn't worry about it, because the important part's that connection.
Okay. Thank
We
you.
also have another client who decides to, when they want to talk to their client, instead of doing email, they just take a quick video of themselves, talk to their client, and then send it via email.
Oh,
And so
okay.
then the client opens it up and watches. So in the beginning, she was really uncomfortable. What do I say? So she just thinks, oh, the client's right there. What would I say if I was talking to them? And then sends a video and does very little email at all.
That's kind of good. That's kind of like Marco Polo. My sister and I, we do Marco Polo. So that's a really great idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Very welcome. All right, so the last bit here is to think about, okay, so how do you decide what to add to your tech stack? So it's a couple different questions. How often are you going to use it? What will it cost to buy it / learn it? Because obviously if you're learning it, you're not doing lead generation, you're not delivering service, you're not doing something that's billable in your business. And then is there anything that you already use that will do it? So it's kind of balancing all those different things where it's something, it's like, okay, I use this all the time, so it's really worth the cost. This is something I use once a year, but when I need it, this is its value to me. Or maybe it's like, you know what? I don't use it very often, and this thing that I already do will do what that function is. It's going to be a little bit hard to keep track of because software companies add new features to their products all the time. So it might be that something doesn't do that thing when you start doing it, but then 6 months or a year down the line, they add it in.
Mhm.
Now, is it any good? That's the question. So, for example, we do a lot of whiteboarding with our clients. We use something called Miro. Zoom. This is really with COVID. Zoom has added a whiteboard to their Zoom product. Teams has a whiteboard option as well. The Teams one's the weakest of all of them, and there's also Google Jamboard. So just because they put it in, and this is a situation where I called Microsoft and asked them some questions like, hey, I want to be able to do this with it. And their answer was like, yeah, it's never going to do that because we just kind of put it on as a bolt-on. So, just because, so it's kind of that balance of, okay, so the software that I use all the time now has this new feature. Will it replace something that I'm using and paying a separate license for? And will it actually do what I want it to do?
I mean, for technology being new, as having Marc as a business partner, he knows so many things. And so he'll bring a new application to me. Like he brought Microsoft Project. I'm like, if I ever see that again, I'm quitting. Do you know what I mean? I'm just leaving the business. I'm done. And so whenever we start something, we're now on ClickUp, which is project management. But I had to do Trello for a long time where I just took Post-it notes and moved it under different days visually. It worked for me because going to something like that, I'm like, I'm never going to survive. I'm not going to make it. And it's too much and too overwhelming. So for me, when he picks an app, I often look like, what are 3 apps before it that are easier to use, and start using those for many, many months until I build up to that one. So I'm really, you have to be really patient with yourself. Something I always do is they'll offer free trials. And like 7 days, or you get it for 14 days. Sometimes I can't get to it in 14 days to learn it. And so the trial is over. I call them and I say, hey, will you give me another 2 weeks? Or if it's just for 1 week and I'm really using it, but I don't really know how much I like it, I'll ask for a month. Like, can you give me a free month? Because in the beginning, what I would do is I'd be like, oh, that's really cool. I'm going to, start subscribing to it, or I'm going to pay the annual fee because that's what, I get a discount on it. And what I started realizing is stop doing that. Don't buy anything. Don't subscribe to anything until I've had it for at least a month and see if it's really working for me or not. But we try programs, how we know about all these programs. We didn't subscribe to all of them. I mean, we used them, and some of them, they let us use it for 2-3 months to see if it was really a good fit for the business. And if it doesn't do something you want to do, like sometimes Trello won't do what Monday will do, which is their competitor, find out and call them and say, is it ever going to do that? There's been times when Marc has called and said, hey, can you build it for us? can you add a feature, which of course I never thought you could talk to a company and say, hey, will you add this on? But it's interesting. They have people there that help customize it for the different businesses, but they don't advertise it that way. So I would say the biggest thing is just keep asking for what you want. And if you don't understand, just keep asking. That's what they're there for.
Yep. And there's a comment here in the chat from Karen. Watch TikTok videos. Yeah, TikTok, there's a lot of stuff I've watched, YouTube videos. You know, some sites, some applications have better tech support than others. And some of them have better user manuals and documentation than others. One of the reasons I like Squarespace a lot is Squarespace has a lot of information about how to use it. And they have a lot of videos. They have a lot of really clear instructions from the company about how to use the product. There's another, what we build our website on is called Webflow. Again, they have a lot of content about how to use the product and a lot of instructions.
Yeah. So,
you know, as you add a product in, start thinking about, okay, so if I get stuck, how am I going to be able to learn how to use it? TikTok's great. YouTube is great. And then
there's tons.
There's tons.
Yeah. And I also have no problem reaching out to people that are on TikTok or on YouTube and say, hey, I'm trying to, you know, do your tutorial and I still can't figure it out. Like when I would watch about QuickBooks, I'd still be lost, even if I was watching it, didn't understand what was taking place. Just the other day, I had like a pop-up little tent thing. I couldn't get it back in the bag. So, you know, I was watching the video and then afterwards I just reached out to him and I said, thanks, that was really helpful on this part and this part, but the other part wasn't. So, you know, reach out to people and you'd be surprised. Business owners or other people, they'll reach out because, you know, they needed a tremendous amount of help and still do as they go through their business.
Okay, so that's all the slides. I'm going to stop sharing and just open it up for more questions. And we can go back to any particular part if we want to talk about marketing applications, or we want to talk more about website and website platforms.
How the heck do you even build a tech stack? Where do you start? It seems overwhelming. We're open.
Well, it is certainly overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
You
I
know,
mean, like I
I
said,
just spend a lot of time just trying to figure stuff out, and that's where I get frustrated. And I wish I had a techie person around that could just do it, and I could just sit down and do what they tell me. But
Yeah.
well, Barb will tell you I get frustrated too. So
I just don't
I
have
know.
a lot of time I don't have a lot of time for the learning curve. But everything that you guys mentioned, I need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I, you know, for me, overwhelm is definitely the order of the day. What I ended up doing is taking the categories and I took a Post-it note and I was like, okay, here's sales, here's money, here's, you know, social media, and I just made categories. And then when I was networking or I was online, I would ask someone, well, which one do you use and why? And how is it helpful? And so in the beginning, I just collected different names, you know, of different things and what people thought about it. And I also dedicated myself in the beginning, it was just a half hour a day to learn something. You know, even though he talks about we're on Microsoft Office, it has like 10 apps I've never even opened yet.
I know.
You know, I just haven't even opened them or got to them, but I know that they can be helpful. And then I can get rid of one of the other chat functions and use it, you know, and stay in one application. Like when Marc was talking about HubSpot, that does a lot of stuff, you know, and aggregates. They've really worked hard to aggregate everything. We're just in the trial stage of it. I mean, we were in it before for something else, but to try the sales, you know, so it just, if you can really relax and say, you know what, I am only going to work on my website for this month. You know, my first website I built myself, and you still can do that to this day. And I just was really calm about as much as I can. Of course, I also got so frustrated, walked away from it. But then also I asked anybody and everybody, do you know anybody that can help me get the pictures on the website? That's all I need. Just one step to get that far. And, you know, in the beginning, that was hard for me to ask, you know, oh, will you help? Will you help? But as business owners, we get really comfortable with asking each other for help with different things. And when you're caught and say, gosh, I could spend a couple hours, I just need to call this person and just have them
Well,
help.
I like what you said earlier about having the technical service people to gain access to your computer and just go in there and do it.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, because
get it over with. Just do
that's right. And for me, I don't like, I want them to take over because they're like, oh, click on this or click on this file of this and this exact file of, I'm like, pfft, then I have to find it or push this button. And, you know, they want it in the, it's up in the top right. And there's so many buttons. I just do it.
Yeah.
So always ask if that's an option. Say, do you have the ability to take over my screen?
I see there's a question, but I want to say one more thing too. You're not going to like every app. So Barb likes Slack. She uses Slack to communicate with people. I can't stand Slack. I don't like.
I love it.
I don't really like chat apps because they pop up. And like I'm in my flow, I'm doing something, and then to me they're very distracting. Other people love them, and it's a great way for them to communicate with people. It just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah, I love it when a client just pops up and I get a little notice they have something little they need. You know, and if it's something big, I'm like, oh, I have time at 7, or I can be on the phone at this time. So it doesn't bother me in my flow, and then I know I can be available. So it's really important for you to know exactly what you do like to do and don't like to do. And then how is it that you can use that other thing? Like I love to do Slack. Marc loves to be on the phone. You call Marc, he will pick up and talk to you forever. You know what I mean? On the phone, I'm kind of like, no, you know what I mean? I just, because I'm focused on that. Now I will talk on the phone, but you got to set a schedule. Marc, you can call whenever. So it's just, what is it works best for you and that you like? If you hate to do something, figure out some other way you can get the job done.
Okay, and so I see there's a question.
So, you know, the late students always have a lot of questions, but for the website, for a startup, how many pages would you suggest that you have on your website? Yeah, because you don't want to be overwhelmed. You don't want to put pages on that you have not finished, because you see it all the time. This page is under construction. What do you suggest?
I mean, it gets back to what your budget is and how much content you have at that time. So there are a lot of businesses that will do a single page website,
Just one.
but in that, then they have a few different pieces, right? So you have, okay, what's your product or service? You have your value proposition. I think it was last week they talked about branding, so make sure that you have your branding messages there so people understand what you do and why you. And then that there's a way for them to get in contact with you. So I think those are the key things, you know, from there. So it's kind of like, you know, homepage, you know, product, about, contact. Those are the
main things.
The main things.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I've always liked to have separate pages and not one page for me. And so I just like to have, you know, where they can click on those 3 different things. And that's it to start. I mean, what are you selling? You know, who are you selling it to? Who are you? And then get a hold of me. And that's all they really need to know.
And don't worry too much about SEO. I know people will talk to you about SEO.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's important to have the meta descriptions. It's important to have alternate text to describe your images.
What's the meta?
So that's descriptions about your page. So that's some of the text that Google will look at that tells Google what the page is about. Or if you see the search results, it's that little capsule that tells you what the page is about. So those things are important. But especially if you're in a competitive industry, getting that first ranking on Google is a really expensive proposition. So I think we had a client who was a personal injury attorney, and we looked at, you know, do we do an SEO campaign for them? And it was $10,000
just to get him on the top.
To get him on the top.
A month.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
So
there's no way.
So in some of those really competitive industries, it takes a lot to get to that position. So don't worry too much about SEO. Really kind of think about how is it that you grow your network, your business with those referrals. And things like LinkedIn, for example, really can help you, give you an SEO bump. So
Okay.
your website might not come up, but your LinkedIn profile may.
Yeah, and you know, Karen, you had a really good example too, is like, oh, just get on Facebook. You know what I mean? And sign up and put your, you know, what you do in your business right there. And then we'd say, go to LinkedIn and then go to another platform, you know, of Pages or Google Pages, and then you're there. That will help aggregate things and then bring you up higher in the search.
Thank you so much.
I see Tracy has a question.
Yes, so you guys, people can hire the small businesses, they can hire you for their tech support.
No.
It used to be, but we know where to send you.
No, so it's, you know, in helping our clients use the software they have or understand their websites, but we don't do tech support, unfortunately.
Okay, so you have them, and how much is your service? So how do I pass on your information?
Yeah, so I think we're happy to share our information about our website and pass it on that way, give you email, everything, everything you would like. There are many different organizations in Chicago that will offer classes to you of how to set up a website and do it with you.
Okay.
And so I don't, you know, for the other people that help small businesses, are there classes that you teach on actually working with people to set the websites up, or no?
No, we have not, I have not worked with no one to set the website. But what I liked about what you guys said, as far as the small businesses knowing what it is that they need.
Yes.
You know, even before, you know, like they can, and there are some, you know, discounted services we can send them to set up websites.
Yep.
But not everybody, sometimes they can possibly just set up what the client says instead of what is best for the client and their business.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys, I'm gonna need to know a little bit more information.
So you know what, contact us, and you know, and we can talk about what would be best, where to go, where we know all the places where you can go to get that support, and give tons and tons of time.
Okay. Thank you.
That's important.
And I can share our website in the chat. And I'll add Barb's contact information. And I'm assuming that we will have a way to share the slides with everyone as well. So that's us.
Yeah, if you could send that to me, and I will make sure it gets out to everybody. I mean, you can share it here too, but for those that might need it.
Okay. Can you share the presentation right in?
I cannot do that, but I will send it to Andrea. And
okay, great.
Okay, that'll be good.
That sounds great. Yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is you're you know, on this platform right now. If you guys have questions, reach out to us.
Yeah.
You know, we're here for that.
Okay. Okay, that'll
One more.
Andres will send us.
No.
all right,
One more question for the late student.
one more.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I sent out everything to everyone last week from the workshop. And as long as I have your email address, I will do the same thing.
Okay.
Again.
Mm-hmm.
So my last question is, okay, so I paid someone to do the website, get the domain name and all of this. And you know, you always learn from your mistakes. Some mistakes are very expensive.
Yes, they are.
Now I'm concerned, how do I get all of my information from this company without, you know, just to kind of protect my domain name and everything that they did for me? How do I get access to the passcode and all that so I can get my stuff from them? I'm not happy with the company, but I paid them, so I'm waiting, you know, for them to finish. but I want control of my domain name
I
and
get it.
control it. Yeah.
Did you sign a contract with them?
And let me tell you, it's a very expensive lesson that I have learned.
Mhm.
I didn't sign a contract with them. I do have, you know, I pay with credit card, so I do have, you know, I can track all my payments and everything. But the only thing is, these people have been working on my stuff for so long, and they won't let it go because they're always trying to upsell.
Yeah.
And we don't have very good communication. There's a language barrier. And I'm so frustrated because I'm a novice and I don't know anything.
I would ask, the first thing you can do is ask for your all the passwords, or ask them to be able to transfer the information over to you and give you the files of it, or the screenshots, or whatever it is that they're going to give. It's important for you to see what you want and then ask for it. And then, you know, we can then go from there.
Yeah,
And
understanding.
this is common, you know, I've had.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Mhm.
I've
Very
had a small business with the same, very similar situation.
Yeah, we make sure with our clients, everything that we build, it's theirs.
Okay.
You know, and we never own someone else's stuff or hold them,
Okay.
you know, hostages. They can't take it somewhere else that
Mhm.
is a better price, or that will do something different for them, or have better communication.
Mhm.
I mean,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
need the right to be able to own your own stuff.
Yeah, I had someone try to hijack my
Oh.
name and try to sell it back to me.
We've had that as well.
Really?
Yeah, that one's a painful one.
Barb's had that one.
Barb's had that one. You know, if there's a mistake to be made, I've made it. Honestly, people will say, "Hey, have you heard of this?" And then I can sit down with you and tell you how I solved it, or didn't solve it for quite a while, but then finally got it solved. I mean, it's the spending money, making decision, hiring this, that, you name it. I've done it. And now, because we've had so many clients, we've seen even more stuff.
And if you can, you know, see what happens as you pay, as they finish the website, ask for the domain back.
Mhm.
I think that can be some of the trickiest stuff. The thing you want to protect the most is probably the domain. The content is probably stuff that you already have, so you can, if you needed to, build it with somebody else. And really, when you're engaging somebody, look at what the service that they offer. So some people will build the site and then they'll charge you a monthly service for the hosting or for maintenance.
Mhm.
So really see what's included in that maintenance.
Mhm.
And if you can, I'd say buy your domain before you work with them.
I wish I would have
Definitely.
known. God, I wish
Always
I would.
buy your domain first, because GoDaddy has different things. It would be like $1.99 for the year, or $5.99 for, and then the next year. And you know, you want to own in your business as much as you can.
And then having control of your domain will also give you control of your email, right? So Marc and Barb at 1C Business, we own the domain, and we are also able to manage our email that way because we have that domain. So
And
people
we can go wherever we want.
can't take the domain away from us, and
Okay.
then mess up our email.
Yeah.
Karen, you had a question.
Thank you so
Yes.
much.
So do you guys do consultancy where small business can consult with you and you give them advice?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We have communities that we work with that we give our time. And
Okay.
our program is one of them. So that's just, and mentor, we do that. We've been doing that for years.
We can also do hourly consulting as well. So if you can talk about that.
And what program you said is part of that? You said Cara?
So we work with the SBAC with Empower.
Oh, Empower. Okay, gotcha.
And then they assign us mentees, and or people have specific questions, then refer them to us to have a Zoom call and help you through.
Gotcha.
That's how I found them through SBAC Empower.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of part of the group whenever I can make a meeting.
Yeah, I think it's great because there
Yeah.
are so many people there with so much specialized knowledge. I mean, in that group, you have somebody that just does websites.
Yeah.
You know, and that's
But
the
they're a very strong network. They know some of
they know so many people, and you can just knock on their door or their email and say, hey, can you give me an hour of your time or a half hour? I'd really like to meet about this. And like I said, a lot of people, once they make it in business, they really want to help other business owners, because it's not for the faint of heart. Sometimes it's a soul destroying process. You know, if we're just being honest with each other. So a lot of people want to give back and do a lot of mentoring. You just ask.
Yeah, I didn't know this, Tracy, but when we were in Bloomington, they were there. They were one of the presenters.
Oh, okay.
Not these guys, not Barb and Marc, but two of the leaders, Patty and
Patty, yeah.
yeah, I forget the gentleman's name. He's the big kahuna. I forget his name. But anyway, they were there and presented on some things, and I was really shocked. We ran in, was bumped right into each other.
Yes, I was talking to the guy. Yep, he was on his way to the. Yes, okay.
Yeah, and Patty's a great person to reach out to and say, hey, I'm working on my website. Who can who does it inside? Who are the members, that are inside the group that will answer questions, and she'll have people.
Yeah, actually, part of
sales or QuickBooks or whatever it is, just ask for support.
Part of our deal that we have with the Empower and Patty is, after our workshop series is done, I got them to agree to mentoring our group.
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay, so I see we're a bit over time. I think we can do maybe
yeah.
one more
One
question,
more question,
and then we call it a night.
Gotcha.
Is everybody good then? And please reach out to us, and we'll make sure the presentation gets to you as well.
Okay, we'll do.
Because you'll have lots of questions like, oh, what was that platform again? Or, I need this. And I think that's the most important thing is, what do you need? What do you like to do? And what do you not like to do? And then you go from there.
Well, I personally would like to thank you both. Barb and Marc, thank you guys for your time.
Yes, thank you. This was very helpful.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. You guys have a good evening.
You
Thanks,
too.
you too.
Right. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. And thank you all for participating.
Definitely.